Hello students, welcome back. Let us start with chapter number 1, Reproduction in Organism. Let us start with the definition. Reproduction is a biological process in which an organism produces another organism, that is called offspring, similar to itself. Now when I say similar to itself, it means it is not just a clone or a photocopy, but very near to that mother or a parent organism. Remember the definition? It can be asked for 1 mark. Then, what is the importance or a function of this reproduction? Reproduction is very much important because we need to have continuity of species. So, it is necessary for the continuity. From one generation to another, another to the third to the fourth. This goes on when there is reproduction. If there is no reproduction, the species won't be carried further, and one day it will be lost from the world. Other than that, sexual reproduction is responsible for the variation in population and its inheritance to future generation. So we get variation, we get characters inherited, and continuity of the species is there. So these are the 3 reasons why reproduction is important. Most of the time they ask for 1 mark, and you should able to answer these 3 important points. Now this chapter, if you have studied in class 10th and 11th also and class 9th also, this few parts will be, you will be just remembering the old examples which we will see further. Very short chapter, you can score easily 1 or 2 marks, whatever the weightage of the marks of the chapter is there. But you should go through with each and every example, because most of the time they ask the question from the example. Okay, continuing further, what are the types of reproduction? So we have seen or we have heard asexual and sexual reproduction. So let us differentiate asexual and sexual reproduction. So when you say asexual reproduction, it does not involve formation or fusion of any gametes. While you say sexual reproduction, fusion of gamete is very, very important, and that is must. So first point should be clear. Second, the offspring formed by asexual reproduction are generally identical to the parent and are referred to as clones in asexual reproduction. Remember this word. While in sexual reproduction, I have just said few minutes back, the offsprings are not identical, but they are having some variation because it's a sexual reproduction. So they will be having variation in the population. Third point. In asexual, it's very simple and fast process. While in sexual process, it has an elaborate, complex and slow process. Fourth, asexual, mostly it is mitosis, or only mitosis is involved, while sexual reproduction, it involves meiosis. Asexual reproduction, if you see, it is always uniparental, single parent is used. While sexual reproduction, it is having 2 parents involvement. Asexual reproduction is very important to maintain the same characters for generation, while sexual reproduction is very important to keep the species continuity or evolution process. So that is the difference. So at least we have seen 6 points each of asexual and sexual reproduction. Now let us go in the topic asexual reproduction, the methods, examples, and there can be a question, write a note on it, but it cannot be more than 2 marks because the chapter weightage it cannot ask for 5 marks. So let us see asexual reproduction. Uniparental with or without gamete formation. Sometimes gamete is not required, but if gamete is there, then single gamete is enough. It is a condition where an offspring receives two copies of chromosome or a part of chromosome from one parent and no copies from other parent. Remember this word. It is a condition where an offspring receives two copies of a chromosome or a part of chromosome from one parent but no copies from another parent. So if you see in class 10th also there was a small topic of asexual reproduction, and the same examples and same topic we are just revising, you can say, in that way, but the examples are very very important. Now see, offsprings are exact copies, so we can call clones, exactly like the parents, and mitosis is involved in this process. Mitosis is a cell division method which you are studying in class 11th. Now what are the types of asexual reproduction? So if you see fission, one of them which you have heard, fragmentation, again budding, regeneration, spore formation, and vegetative propagation. So the 6 types of asexual reproduction already we have studied in class 10th biology chapter. One of the chapter was there. Fission, splitting of parental cell into 2 or more daughter cells. So there can be binary fission. Binary means 2, so one getting divided into 2. And there can be multiple fission, so one organism dividing into many of the organisms. So there are 2 divisions. There can be many divisions, binary fission, multiple fission. Let us see binary fission. So when you see binary fission, the splitting of parental cell into 2 equal daughter cells, each of which rapidly grows into an adult organism. The parental cell divides into 2 and each of them grows as an adult or a parent. This is called binary fission. It occurs in the single cell organism. Examples of some bacteria, protozoa, amoeba, paramecium, you might have heard this. It can be simple, it can be irregular, longitudinal, obligate, transverse, depending on the plane of division. So there is no fixed point where it can be divided. There can be division any angle. It can be longitudinal, transverse, obligate, any angle. Then we come to multiple fission. The splitting of a parent cell into numerous daughter cells, each of which grow into the adult. That is called multiple fission. The best example is the plasmodium, which we have already seen in, or we'll be seeing in one of the chapter. So plasmodium is that a single cell divides or getting split into number of daughter cells. So that is fission. The second is fragmentation. Now fragmentation, fragmenting means dividing into parts. So it is a mode of asexual reproduction in which the parent body is getting break into 2 or many fragments, and each of the fragment acts as an adult or individual organism. The best example is Spirogyra. You might have seen Spirogyra slide in the lab. Okay. There is one definition which is very much important before we go further. Sporulation. Sporulation, during unfavorable conditions, organism like amoeba, they cover themselves with 3 layers hard covering. That is called cyst, and this is called encyst or encystation. Now on return of favorable condition, that is either water or moisture, good condition, it divides by multiple fission within the cyst and produce many amoeba, and this is called sporulation. So the cyst burst open and the spores are liberated, which develops into new adults. So this definition with example you should remember sporulation. Then budding. Again a very common mode of asexual reproduction, in which one or more buds, that is called outgrowths, are produced, which initially remain attached to the parent body but eventually gets separated from them and grow into the individual or new individual. The best example is the yeast. Then next is regeneration. It is a mode of asexual reproduction in which the lost part of an organism, any part of the body which is lost, is, well, you can say repaired, or it is, you can say, reproduced by proliferation of cells, that is multiplication of cells or growing of cells. The best example is planaria. Then the fifth is spore formation. Zoospore, conidia, gammules. These are some words which you should remember, and what are they, we'll just see with example. Let us start with zoospore. These are endogenously produced unicellular, naked and motile spores with one or two flagella. When I say motile, it has flagella, maybe one or two, that's understood. Again, these are endogenously produced unicellular, naked, motile with one or two flagella. Zoospore produced in a sac-like structure called zoosporangium. It's a sac-like structure or balloon-like structure. And the example of this is Chlamydomonas. 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 The next is conidia. Again, asexual non-motile spores cut off extremely or externally, you can say, either singly or in chains from the tip of the special hyphae called conidiophore. Asexual, non-motile, so they have no flagella with them. They cut off externally, either single or either in chain from the tip of the special hyphae called conidiophore. The example is Phytophora and Penicillium. So Phytophora is either if it is detaching single cell, and Penicillium is in chains. Next is gammules. Internal asexual reproductive units or buds called gammules. Example, sponges. And these develop within a parental body and are released during germination. Something like sporulation, very near to sporulation, gammules. So in spore we have seen zoospore, conidia and gammules. Then the last method in asexual is vegetative propagation. So it is a mode of reproduction in which new plants are formed from vegetative parts, maybe root, stem, very common in angiosperm, higher angiosperm. And some examples we have seen that which parts are used for propagation. So like bulbs are there, onion, eyes on the tuber, potato, leaf buds, bryophyllum, offsphere, water hyacinth, pistia, rhizome, ginger, runner, oxalis, sucker, mint. Remember this example. These are the methods of asexual reproduction and different types which are involved in it. The next part we will see the events in sexual reproduction, and there are some definition which we should understand. So we'll see that in next part. Thank you.